Welcome everyone to another amazing live stream achievement. Some would say lifetime achievement unlocked. I can't believe not only am I now the proud owner of an IBM model 7043-150, which, spoiler alert, I previously was already until I stored it in my parents' basement and then they recycled it. Thanks, father and brother. Love you very much too. But now I got a new one. So initially I had this, I was once being donated. Sorry for that being e-wasted. Now I have a much more glorious black one though. In pretty pristine condition. It is absolutely amazing. It's like they didn't nearly use it with the matching as seen on this YouTube thumbnail matching CRT. So finally Exacode has proper vintage key here in the office. We finally have a CRT again after I gave my last ones away for $1 or so 15 years ago. I finally have a CRT in the office again for, of course, the appropriate vintage and retro experience and matching keyboard and mouse. It is amazing. Even more amazing is that you might wonder at times, why do we optimize the heck out of our T2? Not only does it run amazing on a Steam Deck, Sunblade 1000, latest and greatest RISC V, but hey, now it runs better than ever. It's like 10 years later, 15 years later. I can't believe I just freaking booted our amazing Linux distribution, kinda sorta, from optical media. I already committed some things, so some things I actually implemented were 15 years ago wrong. Ironically, they were quoted on Debbie mailing lists, so at times you Google my stuff and you find, hey, this, even on Debbie mailing lists, there's this crazy German René Reber there, his T2. There are some things in his T2 Linux. Some things were even wrong. I had this booted, so ironically, it is the identical hardware to the IBM 7046B50. Server 7043 B50 previous video that I of course also still have in the office, but this machine has matching keyboard and mouse and the CRT. Spoiler, actually I only purchased this off of eBay for a steal because local pickup who wants to drive with the car in this day and age and pick up a CRT ride. I wanted, I got finally, my eBay search for 5 years I was searching for an affordable CRT, Sony, Triniton, IBM branded, beautiful black. It is amazing. It is, well, of course, a little bit analog. Like, it's not super sharp, but hey, it's a CRT. So I can finally play X-Wing versus TIE Fighter on a black IBM Sony Triniton CRT. My life coming full circle. Soon, live here on this gaming channel with my 3-year-old, soon 4-year-old son. Can freaking game here like it is the 90s. So basically I got this IBM workstation for free and it is freaking loaded. I will make a dedicated video. Fully loaded, it comes with 2 SCSI hard drives. Of course, you can never have enough of those. I'm installing, of course, the only true Linux distribution that you would possibly run on it, which is, of course, our T2 there already on a obviously LVM2 striped. I could full disk encrypt it. It would work, but I don't want to ruin this high performance RISC workstation experience. Fully loaded, 2 SCSI drives, they currently appear to work, which is certainly a bonus, and a freaking SCSI DUT tape, which now I have 2, one in my SG Octane and one in this IBM RS6000. Certainly you can never have, like with dumb people as myself constantly deleting their data, you can never have enough. What is even the DSS, whatever is the dead DDS or whatever, you can never have too many tape backup solutions. And a backup to, like, if your IBM RS6000 doesn't work or fail or whatever, of course it doesn't, then at the least you can go to your SG Octane and restore your data. So we learned some lessons. So I already committed some improvements. So of course we improved stuff. This means I deleted some. So there were some, because 15 years ago I was at times didn't know what I was doing, although it was working better than a Debian 2023 we finally corrected that. That means our P3 compatible, our PowerPC ISOs will now come with fewer duplicated files that had no purpose, because I finally figured proper ISO booting. All of those, that's already committed, of course. Also from the P3 work. So all of this is only possible not only due to 25 years working on our amazing Linux distribution, which probably I should switch to the black theme. It triggered some people, like Terminal. Yes, I will do it soon. And some of this stuff is only working now so amazing because we optimized the heck out of that for the P3, right? Previous video. Also more coming soon. And like our mini init RD, and also that is probably not many you don't see this, except on Instagram here of all things, because obviously I already Instagrammed that. Share, like, subscribe, Patreon and stuff. And so not only gorgeous, like prettier than Apple IBM boot logo, I still love that. Also, that means I have this boot logo again, because on the IBM R6000 I unfortunately updated the firmware because Linux didn't boot quite right and stuff and so on, the usual hiccup of stuff growing too large. And with the latest firmware update, so spoiler alert and pro tip, don't update the firmware if you don't have to, because if you install the latest firmware on your IBM R6000 model 7043, then you lose this precious boot graphic, because apparently they had no space anymore for features like network and whatnot, and had to remove it, right? It's a shame, because that is one of the most outstanding, like if you run a museum and a collection, such a nice, prettier than Apple in my opinion, and timeless and still pretty boot graphic. And I couldn't restore it because I googled like a year ago or two, I googled for probably 1 hour and I couldn't find an older firmware. So on the IBM server somewhere in the archive you still find the latest firmware for the IBM B50 server, or maybe 43P2, but not an older one, right? So I couldn't, like technically you could, but I didn't find the previous firmware, which pro tip, I probably should have dumped the bloody firmware. Maybe I do it, I think maybe there was an option, I need to check actually if it's the same system board. It looks suspiciously close, maybe the boards are identical, it has to be checked. I have them both here, but I have code to write. Anyway, my point was, here maybe one of the first people kind of sort of ever freaking latest, nearly latest, or like actually there is a release candidate, right? So latest Grub, it's maybe a world's nearly first, or surely for the system. I would not be surprised if only on this channel, world's first testing latest Grub 2 for latest storage features, encryption, LVM, all on your vintage IBM RS6000 workstation servers. Was some fiddling, so the latest CDs, before you try this at home, wait for the next ISO, because I fixed things, right? The point of all this stuff, years of eBay searches to negotiate the best possible price ever, not to, like, yeah, not earning so much, except all the people who soon want to migrate their IBM RS6000s to T2 Linux, because, spoiler, nobody was ever fired for choosing T2 Linux. Was some fiddling involved. It did not just work because I wasn't sure if the drive reads, the 25-year-old drive reads CD, the CD rewritable reads CD rewritable, but spoiler alert, it did, although slowly and stuff. Even a precious new, brand new 80-minute 700 megabyte CDR was written. Anyway, pointless, because it didn't help me a thing. But yeah, latest stuff here. Also older ISOs. Yeah, older ISOs you could potentially boot like that. Like if you want to replicate this at home, boot cd-rom :/install.bin. And this install.bin, of course, we remove. That will not remain there. I will need to continue to test some stuff. Because of course this boots via a ppc bootinfo.txt, I believe. Anyway, details. I don't want to bore you further with those details. What counts is it freaking booted, it freaking worked. Also, there are of course always things, right? So more things. So it wasn't flawless. Also, we need to resize it. It wasn't flawless. Some bugs were fixed, some details improved. Stuff is installing. And theoretically, I mean, I could just add like a dozen to-do entries, right? If my to-do that I already deleted twice now and restored twice, previous video yesterday, dumb people, like, yeah, just yesterday I deleted, no, just the midnight before yesterday, I wiped my LVM2 volumes from my workstation, and yes, I play with fire, I used LVM2. This is a pure LVM2 install on this vintage workstation with a 2-drive strided root and swap partition, obviously for performance. Let's fill to do and other fun stuff. Installer SSH, that would be nice. I just added this, so like, of course I added already some to do, right? So what have we learned? So of one thing I also added, I made the frame buffer stuff modular to save space, and now, because one thing is, I'm currently installing this serial console because the open firmware frame buffer module is not in the initrd. And that is the point of the stuff, right? Why do I test so much stuff? We have a mission. We have the mission to ship the best possible pure Linux for all architectures and systems forever. And so we need to test some stuff, right? It makes no sense to only test this in QEMU. If you only test in QEMU or PC emulators, then you don't find bugs like those, right? And even if you like unit tests like we do in QEMU system and stuff, I didn't realize that is frame buffer modular. What we probably would want to do, so I added that already. I didn't regenerate the ISO mkinit mkinit. So that is OFFB here in this. Also there's some more stuff. So theoretically we can go through the kernel options. So there are, I already noticed the other day, because it's already the second day that I play with this precious, gorgeous system here. So this is slightly, probably should use it slightly. I saw, because we also want a most fully modular kernel, because I like my kernel fully modular and be able to load stuff. And I guess so there is, find some more last Linux kernel built-in options. There are a couple. I should have instantly yesterday tuned some, but find some more last Linux kernel options, built-in options to make modular. Then we have, maybe do this later, depending on how the installation is going. Right, so theoretically, auto partition IBM, this is common hardware reference platform, like for this, because I still need to fiddle a little bit around with Grub 2 from whatever readable partition stuff here, but that is for another night. For today I'm fine. I'm probably booting that from the CD-ROM, not the biggest deal. Like boot CD-ROM, and then configure the load and use that as a trampoline to further boot the system. That's okay for me for test system, for further prototyping. We also have another thing is, and I'm amazed that this booted, because also Python installed forever, because I made a previous video already 3 years ago in my parents' attic when I carried the IBM B50 server to the office again, because it was stored in the attic for a decade. And I made a video playing with that and booting. So I had some issue. Previously we had some issue using Yaboot, loading kernels larger than 6 MB. And of course it's exactly the same issue on the system. And I'm surprised that apparently with Grub it's less of an issue for some reason. Maybe better memory management, or who knows, whatever. However, you currently need to use a mini RD, right? For the PS3, and there, everything comes here full circle, right? We improve it for virtualization, we improve it for containerization, container orchestration, and it improves for PS3 and other IBM systems. Because currently you need to use a mini RD, the other one will crash Grub to the open firmware for memory, whatever. Maybe on Spark, also on vintage Spark systems, maybe even allegedly, according to documentations, I have not personally tried that, even Ultra Spark, like what we had previously, even 8 gig monsters, Sunblade, whatever, allegedly, according to Zilo documentation, the Spark Linux loader, those Spark systems before Sun 4V virtualization do not map, do not initialize the MMU, memory management unit, or so they say, and only 6 or whatever megabyte work, especially for network booting. Although I'm a little bit surprised with these numbers. Maybe they are off, maybe they're incorrect. It doesn't sound the most plausible, but it's documented. At least they say so for network booting. Although maybe it changed until Sunblade 1000. Maybe the documentation is from Sun Ultra 5 or whatever. Anyway, so check. We need to check mini RD for shared libraries, because it is currently libraries. It's like -lm, and there were some others, etc. Whatever that were. I don't want to scroll back so much now, not to disturb with this installation. Then we also further check the small base second stage, because with all the stuff we recently enabled and added, it also has some missing shared libraries. I probably need to improve the scripting there, because it doesn't scale, that each time we add and change some crazy stuff, the stuff breaks. That is of course not a sustainable setup. So another thing probably is, for the only thing with, is this the main stuff? What else do we have? That's probably the main stuff. Theoretically, these are 2 entries, by the way. It's also implement installing Grub 2 on IBM. Chirp. I guess we could go and configure the, by the way, I slightly want to configure the kernel further. Question there, and welcome everyone. What is the type of that? It's a 3043-43P? Dash 150 43P. A very, according to the internet, and allegedly very common for IBM RS 6000. Probably only a few in Europe, maybe more in America, I don't know. In general, I find all this IBM stuff rare in Europe or Germany. Yeah, I mean, Germany is more of the higher industrial areas, right? So, although it could always be like IBM, although with like UK and France, the industrial leader in the EU for decades, it is possible that, of course, I don't know all those markets, right? Sometimes these companies had some luck and special bribes and convincing that stuff is more successful in even highly expensive stuff, right? I don't know, maybe it's possible that it was more popular in France. And it also, some parts of this are made in Italy, which even, did it had on the, somewhere I saw made in Italy, maybe only the keyboard, maybe more. Maybe even the system. Maybe I saw on the system somewhere made in Italy. Anyway, and due to stuff like this, it's always possible that due to such things, maybe it's more popular in Italy, right? Or it has been at least 20 years ago. Who knows? Whatever. Leave me, like, if you are in this, leave me in the comments below. I, of course, have never, until my professional career, have seen IBM things except in IBM XT, right? Obviously. And once, I mean, I've only seen PC clones in my whole life growing up, until I was like 12 or so. I have seen, one IBM XT, which of course at that time was woefully outdated, and an IBM PS2, but I've only seen one, right? So like popular, everyone had obviously Commodore C64, Amiga 500, and I had one friend, one pal in school who really had a pretty compact IBM PS2. We opened it once because curious and stuff, what kids do, and I was looking, it's like, why is everything so cramped and compact? And obviously microchannel, right? It's like, where's the either bus of my 386 at home? Anyway, 386 clone at home. So yeah, we will obviously we can also I prepared this already yesterday here, and we could slightly update this later. I guess we do more interesting things. It will soon be listed in the T2 hardware listing things here. Obviously, what do we? Hey, we did install. So how long did this install? We live stream. So it maybe 30 minutes. So the installation is not that bad, right? This is given. This is most advanced. Also, like it's text mode, right? This is. I wish it would look better. That's not IBM's. It's just dialogue, whatever, serial console. Yeah. Probably I should further improve that. I will probably not, and that's also the good thing, right? Coming here. Here's, by the way, local time. All right, so we probably also want to, and that's a good thing. Doing this over serial console, I noticed some more glitches, which are of course functionally unimportant, but nice to fix. I usually don't see this because it just flickers away so fast when I use some more colorful dialogue installed stuff. So doing this text mode has of course the added benefit of finding some things, which of course I instantly fix. Of course I already plugged in a new CR2032, whatever that is. What do we have? Set date and time, whatever. Ah, shit, no, I pressed enter for no reasons. And somewhere here, I had my office, so much vintage gear. Somewhere I had the freaking battery. I ordered the freaking special battery, the very special crazy battery. Can we for the previous video Apple excerpt, right? Darn, I just had it here. It can't be far. It must be somewhere here between an RS 6000 and stuff. I probably. Is it one? I wanted, I didn't want, can we start from, I should actually read the freaking, my own menu. Okay, this is R2 menu. Let's see one, let's hope one is C. Let's hope this is a C local, I don't know. Okay, so grub now, not for today, because this will not just work. I know it already, it is pointless. So what would exit enter, okay. Kboot for more modern is also pointless, more modern IBM servers or P3. It's of course also pointless. So by the way, I mean obviously that should be obvious, right? If T2 asks you want to do some random shit that doesn't match your system, don't do it. I mean theoretically, I could like only stone installed setup kboot if. Oh, that system. I mean, I'm not sure if it's worth the effort. I mean, it doesn't harm creating that file. It just does nothing. So, yeah. Does this not? That is funny that this didn't present something. Okay, let's create an. Do we not have a network device? All right, maybe I don't have a network device. I booted the small. I mean, that is interesting. Fix no stone network device config with mini init rd. Maybe we should actually. We probably should do something. Maybe we would need some mechanism to. I mean, maybe it's also not worth it, right? Like everything, like sure, perfection. We could do everything. Like the sky's the limit. Like, or it's not the sky's the limit. Your Patreon and Super Thanks donation are the limit. We could of course fix everything, but it's not always the most important. What do they mean with it? Ah, did I? I probably did this wrong. Because people could be, I mean, if you have a vintage system, maybe you should be so intelligent to realize you had to boot with a more minimal configuration and configure your, I mean, it probably will have the device if you boot the full system, because then UDEV does re-auto, like re-event synthesizing on full boot after initRD. So you should have this in your full installation. It's probably a no-brainer. Just, I mean, I could add it to my to-do, like maybe in 5 years we do it. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe for that. VigMac writes, how comparable is the CPU to an 386 by performance? Well, that is blazing performance. This is a 375 freaking highest end configuration that set you back a 10,000 bucks plus optional configs. So this config is shown probably, I mean, especially with display, right? So with display, with the freaking 17 inches of CRT, it's probably 15,000 US dollar when new in 1996. And that is Pentium 2 performance, right? 300. The entry-level model was 250 megahertz, I believe. I previously had the entry-level model that disappeared in my parents' basement. They once brought some shit to recycling. I hope not this one. I can't find it anymore. Anyway, that is really sad. Pro tip, don't recycle like I could. Family, what should you do? You can't choose them, right? They do nonsense. You are not there for a summer and your precious collectible basement stuff disappears. Anyway, previously I was donated the base model, which is also why I actually earlier did not really use that donated machine much, except testing it a little bit 15 years ago, like a day or two, and then it was not important. I actually run the equivalent IBM 7043 B150 B50 server, previous video, also has the same IBM Motorola 603 or 4R. Actually have that here, and that I've run as 604R. So that is freaking high performance, right? 730. So that is like surely around 400 megahertz Pentium 2 performance. You can play. You should be able to play Quake 2 on this. Quake 2. Maybe even Quake 3 Arena. We probably should test this soon. What was I about? Ah, right. So the IBM RS 6000 B50 was given to me by Claire of Rock Linux fame. Thanks again. Go out there to Vienna. And I was actually running that for years, easily 5 years. It was my primary server in my student basement as a file server. So I have run, so usually I've put all the donations to good use, and of course I still have them in my collection. And the IBM B50 was my primary file and internet server for surely 5 years. So we probably have done most things here, I guess, and we will probably not reboot because I've not set a bootloader and I don't want to, like, this is for another day, right? So it works in principle. We found some stuff, I committed some stuff. I will not test everything. So if you want that this stuff becomes even more amazing, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Every cent extra code doubles and then some, making this one true, supporting everything Linux distribution, just pure, readable and unencumbered, and so on. So I will test that the next release will boot on this from the ISO, and the more you shall, like, subscribe on Patreon, I will also eventually script Grub to install on the hard drive bootable. But that is out of the scope for this video. I don't have that much time. What we will have time for is change routing into that. So mount bind. So that is a real thing here, right? Proc CPU info here, not faking this stuff. I don't need to fake anything. We just make everything work. I plugged in, also by the way, so I got this really cheap for just €200, which I find a total steal. Most people spend as much for just a Sony Triniton display. Of course, I negotiated them down from 500 freaking euro. I will make a more dedicated video. I plan actually over the next years on my more main channel, I have already some, but I will make more now that I hopefully have more time, now that our Linux distribution is such an amazing shape. We have new contributors, more developers, more users and media coverage, and YouTube subscribers. I can finally focus. I mean, everything, like truly, I soon run out of stuff to fix at this pace, obviously. But I then will make more like 10-minute presentation of like, hey, that IBM R6000, this does still compute videos there on my moment channel, like I have already a couple of ones. On top of being fully loaded, it also came with 4 memory modules in there, of which only 1 worked. I have no idea why someone ever plugged in their memory modules that were incompatible, because it needs ECC, maybe registered, but definitely ECC, and 3 of the 4 were not. So it came only with, well, it came with 300-ish megabyte memory, of which 3 of 4 were not working, or not recognized by the firmware, not used by the system. So I got 3 maybe working, I don't know, now I have, so plus 3 vintage memory modules I can potentially use for other systems. I took 1 memory module out of my IBM B50, which may or may not be the same system board even, so I have 368 or whatever memory here, because that is 1 module from that, yeah, 368. It was anyway not working. There is some bug. I probably should have fixed it, so that probably is still the same. I had probably 1 gig of memory in the B50, of which always ever only 768 worked in Linux for reasons that are unknown to me. It's probably not really important. Nobody has ever fixed this. Maybe it's whatever sort of limitations it is. Maybe it is some, maybe it's a bug. Whatever. It's like, yeah, 1 unused module is now out. In this, that 368 is enough for now. I could further share and mix. I could also buy another module for $10 off of eBay or whatever. It's, however, mostly not the most important. Although maybe 512 or maybe even 768 might be actually, 86, whatever, might be nice to use. So, proc mount, let's use it for some more real work. Change root in there. All right. That is also kind of novel. All right, we have this in the right, that, and then change root here, bin bash, and then udif adm trigger maybe. I'm not sure if maybe we could all udif d, udif maybe udif d. I just want this to auto load. Let's want this to auto load, not. That should load some modules like a OF display reset importing. Yeah, no kidding. It might have loaded the Matrox module. I still have a blinking cursor on the video output. That is a good thing. Probably it switched to Matrox now potentially. Also, there were some oopses. It's like, yeah, Linux kernel. The only constants change and regressions, but hey, it's still booted. Maybe eventually, obviously, the more you share Linux subscribe, the more bugs I fix. Oh, even so, also someone plugged in a freaking multi-function card with FireWire and USB 2 and maybe even a so MGA G200 took over. That appears to work too. Tested. So the multi-function card is non-standard, so I got this for free in this machine as well. With this comes with FireWire. So that's not standard by IBM. FireWire, USB 2, and maybe some AHCI, because here is some. This is not standard, obviously, Alice, no. There is some mass storage silicon image ZL SATA link. It must be on the mighty function card. I've not, I mean, should it be? Yeah, it probably, it's probably some, is it this one here? Hint Corp. So yeah, given that this is all behind this, probably behind this USB bridge. Where even 028, I hear is 32, probably this one. looks a little bit shitty, to be honest. 08, yeah, so it must be, so that's an interesting thing. Could plug in an SSD in there. Not that it would boot off the offset, but anyway, but that would not be period correct. We don't really need to do that. So given that, now if we run Stone, it probably should have a network device, right? And even this machine, this, like my matching B50 server, has even a original IBM second Ethernet card that we then also got included in this deal. So yeah, that is a thing that was, usually that works. That did not work, probably did not work due to the mini init ID, right? So second device I didn't configure. And then what I wanted to try, dev PTS. And does this work like this? It does, apparently. What did it get? Show nothing yet. Hello, DHCP. No, I can also do this manually if that didn't. Ah, maybe actually, you know what would help? It would actually help to freaking plug in an Ethernet cable. I also have no idea how much this machine was used because it's nearly impeccable. There are only minimal scratches on top, which may be from the CRT on it, but otherwise, and maybe the tiniest imperfection from me driving it in a car, but otherwise I have no idea. It even smells new. Like I don't know what previously a company has done with it, except maybe nothing. It's absolutely crazy that in 2023 you can find this machine for cheap, unscratched, nearly unscratched. It is absolutely remarkable. So let's see, that should give us SSH. Of course it looks slower than it is because it goes over 9600 baud serial console. Yeah, all my test systems here reusing IP space for testing. Which even was it? And there we have it. Now with higher performance, that is of course more fun. Let's check out Subversion. Let's test back out of it. Of course, it's also a burn-in test, burn-in before release test. What is the state of the T2 trunk? By the way, I skipped a couple of packages. I skipped Rust, unfortunately. I deleted them before packing the ISO because it was too large. We are around 1 gig. I'm also considering maybe I change, maybe not this time, but maybe next time, to release smaller base images with only the boot stuff included without the packages. That should reduce this, I don't know if you would reduce this below 100 megabyte or so. For most people it would not have an effect, like to always network install it, right? This could potentially, other BSD and Linux also, even whoever does it at times, this would for me be the benefit even for myself. I mean, not only potentially getting better statistics, I'm not that we would be in statistics, and obviously we connect next to nothing, not even cookies. We only eat them. but it would show in our statistics more how often T2 is installed, unless of course you could still grab the packages from the web server, install them locally, or even maybe we even support like putting them on the device as well, that you on the install device. But even for me it would be the benefit, because even I downloaded 2 times in ISO just today, right? Today I downloaded 6.0 and 9.0 or whatnot of PowerPC. And so even for me testing, I usually only want to boot test, right? And many other people also only want to do that. And so it would save 1,000 megabytes, 600 megabyte, whatever on download, when all you want is a 50 megabyte of kernel, like bootloader, boot configuration, platform bits, kernel with firmware init.rd and so on. And that's even for system rescue and recovery enough. And then the packages, maybe even as a benefit, create a better T2 package selection stuff, so to make it easier to deselect XFCE or stuff, like, or maybe even not even by default, like maybe even pre-build a little bit more than we currently do, to my expense of my electrons here, running through the Ryzen, cross-compiling everything. And further reducing download, right? Helps me little in download if most people, or like not most, if, yeah, or probably most, like most people install it anyway, they still need this download, and it helps nothing. But if we would pre-build more, but select less by default, it would still benefit people, because they download and install less by default, a more minimal system. They have the other stuff still at hand if they want to install it. So that would be, in my opinion, as the usual attention to detail, win-win-win situation for all of this. Anyway, so we're getting somewhere. Theoretically, we could even have a blinking Matrox cursor there. Yeah, the checkout nowadays, yeah, maybe even Git would potentially maybe faster, I have to admit. Subversion per file, WebDAV protocol, probably not the super most efficient. But probably just the right time to go and catch some lemonade. Yeah, we probably dash says Git is more intensive. Well, it depends. I mean, maybe Git loads more because it loads the history, but maybe it does so faster. I guess my gut feeling is that Subversion generates probably orders of magnitude more small requests going back and forth over the pipe. So potentially maybe, but we will see. So what we could do in the meantime, so working on our to-do, which among other things included, by the way, we could theoretically, that is, we could just for the fun of it start X here. That probably should work. I didn't. Should work, maybe. Nothing like starting X. While you're, I mean, given that is a factory IBM Matrox G200, right? So that includes open PowerPC, open firmware. This is black, not sure if that is normal. I didn't plug in the mouse, so maybe it just takes longer to load some hundreds of megabyte shared libraries. What did I want to say? All right, so Matrox, it's a relatively modern, still usable Matrox G200, which is pretty close to what I had originally 20 plus years ago to play Quake 3. So, but I had an Athlon 600 by then to play. So I would expect Athlon 600 should be quite a bit faster. It's kind of one generation newer of. Maybe this works, so it is. What's this? Not sure. The pure black screen, so whatever. It could be normal though. I would need to check what do we even have here? Probably. Yeah. So this is a new rewritten, actually more for server stuff. Matrox MGA G200 driver, which is absolutely ironic, right? That that's absolutely crazy, right? That 25 years later, I believe there are still servers of the last years that still have the same bloody VGA chip. Is that not mind-blowing? I mean, this is obviously that is one of the first we have to support for our microkernel, right? Share, like, subscribe, more main channel. Our microchannel dreams are, of course, not dead and as alive as ever. And now that our Linux works, we can actually soon work on it. Work on it more soon. Var X org and stuff. Did this fully start? Actually, I probably should actually do this in a tmarks and not on this bloody slow. It did map some MGA. What driver is it even? So I mean, maybe it is normal that it is black, but I also have never used something with. I mean, if that is a shame, right? There was a completely full. That is what. Hey, it's even running freaking Xer. Maybe it was fully up. Also direct running disabled. However, it's. I find it so disappointing, right? We had companies and the community writing state-of-the-art, the highest performance drivers. Matrox were one of the best supported, which obviously was why I purchased not one, but probably 3 or 4, probably 3. I purchased my second graphic card in my life ever was a Matrox Millennium 2. The first was, of course, the S3 Verge, S3 Verge 3D, D-accelerator, Matrox Millennium 2, and then Matrox G200 or so, and then G450. Of course, I still have them all in my collection. And I played Quake 3 Arena on this, right? And run X for weeks to work on Rock Linux, that is Naughty 2 at that time. And the 3D drivers were OpenGL, whatever, 1.2-ish, whatever, plus minus, give or take. And like just deleting this, right? In code cleaner maintenance, right? This 10,000 or 20,000 line of code for this vintage and retro stuff is nothing compared to the millions of lines of code for modern AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA. That this is deleted and we lose like some basic 3D stuff or playing Quake Arena. You could otherwise, like if those kernel developers would not always be so lazy and delete everything they don't like and see, and that maybe they should have a vintage collection like everyone else. Because otherwise, like if it would not have been deleted in Mesa, for example, sure, we have a Mesa Classic package, I probably should try that, so keeping the last version, which someone, maybe Dr. Schubert, probably someone of our developers packaged. Sure, we can keep this maintained, which is of course painful for us, but like why not upstream? Like why should vintage and retro Linux distributions maintain it if it could be upstream, right? And like you could have 3D acceleration on your server, like your modern server board that comes with this chip. Anyway, small rant of lazy kernel developers deleting everything they don't like. Quote end. Hey, so probably we will have to delete some. I will probably start deleting some garbage, like decade-old garbage. Like I just rounded off deleting, but honestly, who is using SOAP anyway, right? I meant like deleting SOAP, maybe even updating Violet. We probably should. But what did I want to say? There was something that just scrolled by. Ah, right. Then we need. Actually, we have bounties, right? You don't need to wait for me for that. You can. Even earn money using our Linux distribution and fixing issues, including Xen, right? So we should have a Xen probably bounty, and yeah, there is that for you to work on. So we have this checked out. Amazing. Also noted, right? This is a new T2 stuff where we now ship a sparse user source T2 source by default. So you don't need to know the URL like previously, you just go there, you just go on every fresh new installation, user source, T2 source. Maybe I should rename it, but doesn't really matter. By the way, what is the SVN update time? Yeah, that takes... I mean, to be honest, when I was running the equivalent B50 server, it was already... By that time, it was like nearly 10 years old only. And it felt slowish, right? And that was nearly 20 years ago. So here, it's 375 megahertz. Maybe I should overclock it. Any IBM, Motorola, 604R overclocking specialists here. Maybe liquid metal. 12 seconds. 12 seconds with hot caches, so yeah, probably should. Another pro thing we probably should. I have it on my to-do. I had it actually worked on already. So do I have set RAM? Here we probably, it's like we have so much stuff to do. You really better subscribe. Do I have here VRAM still? I had this partially finished PS3 VRAM by default 2. I had this already tested and then deleted some file because. Anyway, of course NeoFetch is a must, right? So let's test the heck out of it. Neo. Also best in Tmux. Alright, we have some. Did I even change this locale to... Because I didn't... I've chosen the wrong one. I've chosen one, I remember I scrolled over that. I've chosen one. One was not the... I guessed one wasn't right. This takes surprisingly long. It's somehow grabbing. I probably, you know what, this needs to be faster. And it's like, yeah, using this on vintage systems. I don't know why this grab is so small. Make stone. No, it's the wrong one. Yeah. And C locale. Where do we not have a title? Locale grab. Faster, whatever we do there, it is slow. Maybe we even GNU org this, or I mean, maybe even we need to scan 100 or whatever files, whatever the case might be. It is slow. It is too slow for my taste. I need to improve that. Let's relog in just to get this locale. Probably I could source some profile, but yeah, also log in. Tmux, heck yeah, and then we can also and. We wanted to emerge, so NeoFetch for all you console aficionados, and yeah, what else? It works, right? Logical volume, logical volumed here. Do we have smart control by default? Modern stuff. By the way, is this stuff gigabytes process? Like, is this... I mean, I don't know if they ever swapped the hard drives, right? For error... Because I somehow have it hard to believe that this is... I mean, it can't be just 4 gigabyte, right? Even just my installation. Gigabytes processed. I'm not really sure what this is showing. I never had a hard drive showing it like this. Yeah, it's a pity. On other drives you would have, like on more modern drives, you would have power on hours and stuff. But the drives didn't have an issue so far, and I mean, it would have been amazing if we could have derived power on hours. I mean, 4 and... But this is also strange that it's 1.7, right? Somehow this stuff here is all strange. Anyway, 2 perfectly fine working SCSI drives, I don't complain about that. And Yeah, otherwise now we have starting VI. We could of course install. I mean it starts surprisingly long, right? So much too. Emacs is a whole operating system nowadays. Vim's a new operating system, 2023. Don't even get me started on Neo. Vim, the even more improved operating system. Yep. I mean, we could set RAM control. What even were the what was the size argument stuff here? We will probably make this default. We discussed this previously. Also, I probably then there's what do I even type here? Probably the syntax was anyway. So yeah, size, okay, dash size F, find size in. So find a free device and size, let's say 128 megabyte. And then so higher priority is better. Oops. Yeah, so compiling wise, that's of course the latest compiler, right? One thing, of course, is using the latest and greatest stuff is not always faster. As I said, not only did they remove 3D support from Mesa and friends and infrastructure, but similar GCC is orders of magnitude slower, right? Back in the day we had GCC 295. That was obviously orders of magnitudes faster. So yeah. Maybe we should detect that and compile with 01. I mean, compiling with 00 is probably not optimizing enough, but maybe 01 just because get some speed back. I mean, maybe 01 nowadays optimizes as good as 02 a decade ago, but yeah. If you tried this, leave in the comments below. Anyway, so obviously also improving our T2, also wrong Tmax. The experience would be even worse months ago before I transitioned T2 to not recompress sources, right? So yeah, this is reading thousands of files for generating the config. This is also not super ideal. But previously, it's like it's kind of a one-time thing. It's probably we need to optimize it more again. That is, but we are there. We're getting there. Let's see. Maybe I regenerate the time because I had already a build time. I mean, maybe I let it even build longer now that I have T2 running, because previously the previous owner had installed SUSE Linux, SUSE 10 or so from whatever, a decade ago. And actually I have this documented. So I, of course, checked out T2 and benchmarked that on this old SUSE installation just yesterday or so, as I just got it this week, and that is desktop. And that built bash, so with this Linux kernel 2.6, GCC 4.1, but using T2 to build the latest bash, 18 minutes, right? So we have some more numbers. Of course, people previously asked, can you leave this history there? Yes, I will. So if we add next today, rebuilding bash, that is also, then we would get, I will make a dedicated graphic here. Next we need to improve our website, because obviously now that our Linux is so amazing, our website is a little bit lacking. I will include this probably on the main site, because this is hardware well known to be supported by T2 with stuff, CPUs and so on. And I will probably add here some graph and numbers to include the relative performance development of all the GCC versions, which, like all of the stuff, it's of course people could stumble upon, right? They Google for GCC performance and stuff and eventually get morphed into our sites. All this stuff is of course helping. And yeah, as usual, the performance could be even better if it would not be have statically compiled, although in this case maybe not the most, because that is optimized. Our ISOs I built for years, for decades, for PowerPC 603, which is the first today, 10 years ago and today still somewhat usable PowerPC CPU. There were others, but they are even slower to the point. Like if you, of course you can build this with T2 Slayer, because if we would build for 604, it's probably barely different, but theoretically there is always a little bit more performance potentially to gain here or there. So yeah, we could actually quickly, for PC 604, it's probably just a die shrunk version of, maybe they're all pretty similar. 3 execution units, static branch prediction, 5 execution units, branch prediction, superscalar out of order execution. So there are 600. So this is superscalar out of order, 6 execution units, theoretically SMP support, but that is not. This machine is not. So I mean 603. It's probably not the biggest change, right? Also, I believe we tune for some G4 also. By default anyway. If I don't, maybe I should. Oh, I don't have it here. Interesting. Let's add that either to... Yeah, let's do this instantly. I probably should benchmark that. I mean, maybe it's not the most noticeable, but theoretically, why not? So let's, by the way, okay, let's leave it like this. So PowerPC, this is my build all ISOs front end. The question is, what does Clang support? Do they support? I mean, they did not support G5, so probably they don't support G3 and G4 either. We should use something that's supported by, I mean, it's recurring annoyance, right? 2 compilers fighting each other and feature support. PowerPC. So we have, of course, probably all of them, even, I mean, it's ridiculous that GCC theoretically, I mean, I wonder if, like, why do they even offer this? I have it hard to believe that this is probably identical, some of the stuff. I mean, maybe I should even remove it if it's probably most likely identical. So we use that one here. And so the benefit of probably this out of order execution also profits from similar scheduling, but if you use this on a more modern thing, I mean, maybe it is noticeable, I don't know. I mean, theoretically it should, maybe it isn't. I probably should benchmark that. So NeoFetch, let's see, it's already building since just now. It's absolutely crazy though that, I mean, except the archiving novelty of playing Quake 2 and 3 on this soon, or does it run Crysis live here on this channel? Otherwise it mostly makes a fine thin client, right? Theoretically you probably could find a open firmware compatible VGA card that has a DVI output, and then you would have crystal sharp pixels on a modern display potentially. Although probably the Matrox has a pretty solid analog deck. So yeah, 1 minute 33. Let's build. So yeah, it's probably sharp enough. Like if you plug in a display, actually, which I have actually, ironically, a NIC display, so it's probably mostly indistinguishable, and like yeah, of course a little bit much power consuming. I mean, much and much, but more than a modern Steam Deck, right? With more performance, obviously. So bash and binutils, and now we get a performance estimate. Does that have tempfs enabled? Should this fit? Let's here it has tempfs on from my build server. Let's see what we should get some build time estimate. Wow, 53 freaking minutes in. I mean, if that would be true, I mean, yeah, I always say that the modern GCC is an order of magnitude or more slower, right? Like, if this estimate is somewhat true, it would be more than doubling that, right? It also builds more than I want. Actually, wait a second. We actually need to build parallel. Actually, the thing is right. Why is GTK in there? In which binutils? Okay, you know what? This is kind of stuff I wouldn't even notice it otherwise if I wouldn't sometimes test some random stuff. Probably I updated this. I don't even know why it did that. I need to check that. But here comes a commit from another commit, like the only Linux distribution where active development comes from Sunblade, Sun-T4, Apple Xserve, and lo and behold, in vintage IBM RS 6000. Removed GTK from binutils cache. Of course, some password stuff, which is what we left this for. And one commit coming to you from that. So yeah, the sad thing is that, did I wanted to check something, by the way? So yeah, this surely is obviously enough. Does it not have any, whatever? Does this log this, by the way? Ah, this logs this, okay. We really have used this swap already so much? Crazy. Higher. I mean, so it's not actively like unless it needs to touch those pages. It's apparently not distributing them to SetRAM. Huh? Anyway, if it's not used, it's probably better like that. So then let's emerge that and document these times. I mean, of course, NeoFetch is not a representative build time. That's then for this video. We are mostly there. Of course, preserving also all the other distributions deletes this kind of support, right? So, of course, last but not least, our T2 becomes soon increasingly the only distribution actually documenting in a very readable format, right? You can just go to our sources and browse the boot support stuff. All the other distributions usually have this much more hidden in source RPMs and other maybe not even public build scripts and whatnot. Yeah, that is also, that is where the huge usability improvement comes from, right? It's only, I mean, even only decompressing and checksumming here takes a bit. This is what we just recently improved, right? Because it annoyed myself the heck out of using these vintage systems. This is not recompressing, should have done it a decade ago. So we need Perl, unfortunately, for tech info, and then bash and bin. Actually, you know what? We can build bash first. It will not honor this order though. Emerge will sort it by the dependency chain, but which we also have to improve next. Now that everything is amazing and we can boot it on the system, that is stuff we need to improve next. Okay, 4 hours is crazy. I wonder how accurate this timing is. We will see. I sure hope not. Which actually, you know what? I think I will build this manually. Like if emerge builds Perl first, which maybe it does, I will manually build bash first because I'm 2 packages maybe. Why is it only 2 now? Whatever I've done there. Build package force bash. Yeah, it still didn't download this yet. Yeah, some more polishing coming, right? And that is also how I find all those edge cases, right? Actually, testing, the only substitute for testing is more testing. And the more random vintage and retro stuff we test, not only do we have fun, soon hopefully my son will have fun, so this stuff is not wasted. Collecting that here maybe one day. Of course, more main channel, dedicated system videos, and maybe one day we will open a museum, or I should actually give the Technical Museum in Berlin a call and wonder and ask them if they want some loan units of, maybe that would be, instead of opening our own Technical Museum, maybe a corner in the Technical Museum in Berlin. Although the sad thing is, of course they need to be behind glass. I wouldn't want my systems to be destroyed. There is, for example, a Cray 1 or whatever Cray that is. Maybe Cray 1, maybe not. Maybe Cray 2 or Cray 3, whatever. But it's standing there and you can touch it, right? Of course there is a sign, don't touch and stuff, but like it's completely damaged, right? I find this, it's not with all things there. I mean, of course it's nice, they have their typewriters and old-fashioned telephones, and they have there a telephone multiplexing thing that people can make phone calls with dial, what is it even, a rotary dial and maybe even numpad stuff, and kids can like call, and you see the relays clicking and blinking, and that is certainly a good STEM accelerator for kids and youngsters and even adults to see tech actually working. But of course the telephone relay PBX thing is behind glass. The telephones of course not. And other stuff is behind glass except typewriters and whatnot, but it saddens me to see a Cray there so damaged. And it's like, maybe, I mean, that's of course the challenge, right? Also like random people doing random shit. And I personally, if I would have a Cray, I mean, not only I don't have the space and stuff, but I would not, I mean, maybe I would keep it in running condition, maybe, potentially, see other YouTubers. But it saddens me, my vintage and retro and stuff, technical art, burns when I see a Cray so destroyed. That is just sad. So obviously, if so, they would need to provide some glass show things. Not that they get destroyed, they're more in the museum than in my office. So build bash, let's see how that time is going. The other stuff is tested the boot stuff, so we committed some stuff, improved some stuff. We have some easy things on the to-do, and that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this and learned something. As soon as I have more performance data, I will commit this hardware listing to our T2 website. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, Patreon, GoFundMe, GitHub sponsorship for all this good stuff. Have a good day or night, and I hope to see you soon for all the next tech fun to come.